The Queens of Spice podcast is created for adult audiences only. Our show contains cursing, vulgar content, dark humor, descriptions of sexual acts and desires, and is not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. Some episodes also contain themes which may be triggering for listeners. Please take care of yourself.
Listen, stop smushing your private parts together. Get a turkey baster.
Welcome to the Queens of Spice podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ragachu. I'm here with my two BFFs, Jack and Ash. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Rachel.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Oh, you know, I'm here. I'm happy. This is Ruby Dixon. We love Ruby Dixon. She's great.
Rachel loves Ruby
You
Dixon.
would know Ruby Dixon from the Ice Planet Barbarians.
Oh.
You as in the royal you.
Yeah, not
you
Jacqueline.
Well,
No.
and to be fair, I was shocked the first time I went to a bookstore and in the romance section they have fucking Ruby Dixon there because it's like, you know, hardcore alien like romance novels, and I was very surprised to find them on the shelf. But also great.
They really took off. Like,
People, it's such a.
it was a weird thing to happen.
I was very taken aback. I wasn't ready for it. Not that I'm like saying it's a bad thing or anything,
No,
but I was
no.
just like, whoa, Ruby Dixon's here. Hell yeah.
Well, like, I wasn't expecting the people who were reading Ruby Dixon to be reading Ruby Dixon. I think the ones, like, people that I knew, I was like,
Because it's tiptoeing the line of monster fucking, really.
tiptoeing? It's not tiptoeing.
They're aliens.
It is.
They're aliens. So it's like, anyways,
Is it
but it's.
straddling the line?
Thank you, Jacqueline. Yes, it's straddling the line of monster fucking.
It is
it
monster
is
fucking.
And
But
for some
is
reason,
it straddling fucking?
again, thank you, Jack. Yeah, basically. So like, it's interesting to see people
Basically.
into monster fucking because they're like, it's just not.
It's mainstream monster fucking.
It's exactly what it is. You're absolutely right.
yeah.
However, we decided to go off reservation on this one, and we read The Corsair's Captive. It is technically, Ruby has kind of developed a vast universe where there's a lot of overlap on a bunch of her books. So this book is technically related to the Ice Planet Barbarians and Prison Planet Barbarians as well. This is a standalone novel technically, and you can definitely tell there's going to be more books based on like his crew, for example.
Oh, that's where the brother comes in, the prison planet.
Yeah, so
I was
his-
like, well, there's way more information that's happening here that I don't have, and I didn't like that.
So his brother Jitari, he lives on a planet called Risa 3, with his wife Chloe, who's also a human. And I should say too, so the two main characters in this are Fran and Kivian. Fran's a human. Humans are
Rare.
They're contraband because humans are not supposed to be in space because Earth is not like part of the Galactic Empire
Because
they're
we're
not.
dumb.
What's that?
Because we're dumb.
Yeah, basically we're dumb. And
That's what it
although
was.
Kivian at one point he's like, I think you're probably smart enough to know you need clothes. She's like, yes, I would like some clothes, thank you. Wonderful. And Kivian is what's called a Masaka, which is basically like, if you know what tieflings look like, it's like a tiefling but very tall and blue specifically.
Are tieflings not tall?
They can be, but like they're average height typically.
Oh,
Isn't moussaka Greek food?
I think it's spelled different, but yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't surprise me. It's like Masaka, like Mesa. Anyway, words.
Mesaka.
Mesaka.
Meska.
Whatever,
I
however
don't
you
know.
pronounce that. But basically, like, yeah, big blue tiefling because he's got horns and like a tail, and he's all ripped and
He's all ripped.
well, he's got like plating almost instead of like skin. Like he's very solid.
Yes.
Um,
He is a large
blue
creature.
guy, and this one in particular dresses like.
A dandy.
I go, what?
So he dresses like a very, I don't know, like he dresses very well. Like his clothes are fucking expensive. And he has this persona of looking like an idiot, kind of. Like someone you would take advantage of, almost like a very frou-frou high-end whatever. And his ship is called the Dancing Fool.
Laughing fool?
Sorry, the Laughing Fool. The Dancing Fool is later when they rename it for reasons. So the Laughing Fool.
Because that's really like, oh yeah, it was the laughing fool, but now it's the dancing
Yeah,
fool.
right, it's the
They'll
whole
never
thing.
know.
They'll never be the wiser. So I should go back to the summary. Let's do that. A pirate doesn't ask for permission. He takes. When I see the delicate human female collared and enslaved by a smuggler I'm about to swindle, I do what any male would do. I take her from him. It's what I do best, after all. No, Fran's mine, and I'm never going to give her up. On board of my spaceship, she'll be safe. She'll wear my clothes, eat my food, and sleep in my bed. I'll keep her safe from the galaxy that wishes her harm. But my sweet Fran wants nothing more than to return to Earth. How can I take her home when she holds my heart in her dainty 5-fingered hands? This story stands completely alone from its only marginally connected to the Ice Planet Barbarian series, Prison Planet Barbarian series. You do not need to read these books in order to follow this book.
Sure.
So Fran, Jesus,
this is another Susan.
it's another Susan, and it's very funny because Fran has this thing called "Duh, Fran" that she always says to herself, where it's just one of those like, "Of course, Fran, like this is what's happening," and it's very funny.
Duh,
So
Fran.
it's just a funny thing she says to herself, like "Duh, Fran." So she is kidnapped from Earth. This is a thing, like they traffic humans from Earth frequently in the galaxy, and they're basically kept as pets because
Trigger
they're
warning human trafficking.
oh gosh, the trigger warning. Yeah. Like
It's not to laugh at, but
no, but like yeah, trigger warning, human trafficking, slavery, sexual assault.
Yeah.
Gosh, I think that's pretty much it. That's all within the first like 20 pages of the book too. So early on in the book, she's like held in this cage, and they basically like throw pellets at her. Basically, it's like livestock feed, and that's all she gets to eat.
And she's naked.
And she's like chained up in this cage,
And they throw it at her.
yeah, kind of.
It's like a giant hamster.
It's like a
cage
big
kinda
ha-
thing.
yeah,
She's
it's
got
really
like
weird.
a thing that comes in. I think he
Yeah,
even mentions it.
she does. She brings it like she mentions this like feeding tube that, or no, sorry, the water
Feeding
tube. Feeding tube. Anyway, this like water thing that sits on the side of her cage that reminds her of her hamster from when she was a kid.
Yeah.
So she is like, and eventually someone buys her. So they like give her a hose down and they cuff her and they put her a translator in her ear. That's like a old style, like lazy person's translator, not like a proper one.
They pierce her ear.
Yeah, they basically pierce her ear with this thing. And then they
Jacqueline's
this
like, yes.
and then this guy like this frog looking dude basically comes and picks her up and puts a chain on her and throws what is it? It's like a big necklace that has his house symbol or something on it. Some sort of signification that she belongs to him. And she's got like basically the miniest of mini skirts on, and that's it. So she's like trying to cover everything with her hair, and she's got chains and shit, and it's just, anyway, not great. Kivian, however, who's our big blue tiefling looking dude, he is in the middle of a job. He's like, I mean, he's a pirate. There's no nice way to say that. He's like a smuggler, basically.
He's trying to get crystals or something, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's on a job to get crystals for Senator Bomb Thilek. I don't know who that is. Anyway,
Sure.
He's on a job for this dude to get these crystals, and he's getting them from this guy who we're going to refer to him as Froggy because he has a big convoluted name and I don't know what it is. And even the human in this, Fran, she has a hard time pronouncing it, so she calls him Froggy because he looks like a frog.
Oh, wow.
So Froggy is like his contact to get these crystals, and the senator guy he's supposed to be getting the crystals from was like, "Yo, I need double the amount as usual," and he's like, "Well, fuck, okay, we'll see what we can do." And I should mention too, because early on in the book he has a vid call from his brother that like goes to voicemail, basically literal voicemail, because it's a video, and he's talking about like, oh, my wife, Chloe, she's now pregnant. We're living on, Rizda 3. We're like farming. His brother, who was like a fucking mercenary and an assassin, who was also a Corsair for a number of years. And he just like, this really kind of hardcore dude settled down with a human and became a farmer. And he's
It's
like
very
really
confusing.
Well, he's very taken aback by it too, because he's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and he's also confused in that like, how could this weird little human creature thing be worth so much to you? Like, it's so strange because they're like weird looking and they're small and they're squishy and like they're useless. Like what? But they're also contraband from other parts of the universe, so it's kind of weird.
There's also the whole thing with like the way that their father raised them to like be there for one another, and like so you really get this feeling of
They're very close.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the like it almost came across when I read it that like not that he felt abandoned by his brother, but that still like, why would you give this up? Like we were, and then
Yeah. So, and this is the thing. So, they both have these chips implanted in their cheeks that they're like,
yeah.
they're like alert chips or something that whenever they bite down or break it or activate it, it automatically calls the other one. And so they're always looking out for each other in that regard. So you get this story in the beginning where Kivian, which is from the Prison Planet Barbarian series, where he rescues his brother from a prison planet. And when he rescues his brother, he brings this woman along too. And his brother was in jail for years at this point, I should say, before he activated his chip. So my understanding is that he didn't activate his chip until he had a reason that he wanted to leave. And the reason he wanted to leave was Chloe. And so he was basically rescuing her to get her out of the situation. And that was like, again, to your point, he was like, why would my brother risk all this and like put himself in all these things for this like human? Like, it was a very weird, they don't really suss it out in the book, but it's a weird connection.
At that point, you also don't understand that their race is fiercely monogamous.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, that comes back.
Aggressively so.
Yeah, that comes up later. About that whole point. I liked their whole, like, the
hygiene laws.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
So their race, the Masaka, has these like hygiene laws where they use, I think it's like called plasfilm or something, that anytime they're like going to be intimate with, or like, even touchy-feely or at all with somebody else, anything. They have this plasfilm that like covers most of their person basically, and like they interact with each other that way. Like, there's no exchange of fluids ever between them and other creatures. Like, they have these very strict laws.
Or each other.
Or each other, yeah, any of it. And it's very funny because it comes up a number of times throughout the book, especially like, because this obviously turns into a Fran and Kivian show. And down the road, because there's just like a huge taboo thing where it's like, she's like, oh, you're my first. And he's like, well, I've been with other females. She's like, yeah, but not like this you haven't. Giggle, giggle, giggle. And anyway, so he's trying to swindle this guy, the black market dealer of crystals. So what he ends up doing...
Black market dealer of
Well, that's basically what it is, because like, he if he steals crystals from this guy, he can't be reported because the crystals are super illegal. Like, the guy's a black market smuggler. So
they play that game.
Sticks, which is like poker kind of, I guess. It's a game of chance, but like you can also cheat at it. So I don't know. I don't understand how to play it. Whatever. Alien
like
games.
Jacks. Bounce a ball,
I don't
get
know.
the jacks.
I guess you gotta like use. He says it's all on the wrist. It's one of those games, and so
it's all in the wrist.
It's on the wrist.
Poker. It's all in the wrist.
No, I think that's
poker. I barely know her.
Masturbation.
So he plays up the like I'm dumb sort of thing. And the previous time he met with this guy just for drinks or something like that, he lost at Sticks purposefully because he likes to go up and set like it's almost like an investment in the future where he makes himself look like a dumbass.
He's Gilderoy
kind of.
Lockhart. Like he's that like
kind of, but
like,
not a douche.
Well, that like I'm such a moron. Only he's not actually a moron.
So he challenges him to Sticks. And what he's supposed to be doing is getting the crystals. And he's supposed to be getting them for very, like, far less money than he wants to. Or free, or I say free. For no money. He basically wants to steal them.
He's gonna steal
But what he does is he switches the plan. Because when Froggy shows up with this human pet, is because she's sitting there chained and she sits at his feet. He gets, like, a visceral reaction to that. And it's almost like a fated mate situation where he immediately, as soon as he sees Fran, he's just like, that's mine. I'm taking that human. She's going to be mine.
It's her name, really.
It's her name that
he's
does
like,
it.
Goddamn Fran.
Does it for me, too. I love moaning the name Fran. So,
Susan.
Damn it, Fran. Duh, Fran.
Okay, show us. Moan it.
Oh, Fran.
Now you, Ashton.
No.
Jack, it's your turn.
Oh, Fran.
Yeah, it was all right. Fran! Thank you. That's better. I appreciate that. So he barters for her basically, and the way Froggy phrases it, if Kivian wins, Froggy will let him have the human for a night, is what he phrases it as.
Oh yeah, but he's gonna watch.
Obviously.
And it's very funny because after he wins, obviously, he goes back to Froggy's room with him, and this is where he's gonna like do the deed, as it were. And he tells her straight up, like he leans forward and whispers in her ear, like, "Try to stall."
Yeah.
because he's, they're working on a plan somewhere else because he has 3 other crewmates that are helping him with this.
Little Kivian does not do
Little
well under
Kivian.
practice.
He didn't love that. He's like, little Kivian doesn't operate under pressure or something. It's very funny. And she's like, little A. He's like, yeah, little enough. Anyway,
Smaller than me.
Smaller than me. And
Fits my pants.
so there's like this kind of.
Well, it does.
I know. I like it.
Does it pants?
Does it pants?
I should say too. She when you get Fran's chapters, because it's first person perspective, dual perspective. When you get Fran's chapters, she's kind of almost resolved herself to be like, oh, cool, someone's gonna rape me. This is what's happening. Like,
Trigger warning, rape.
yeah, just all of it's bad. And so she's fighting against him, obviously, and throwing it back in his face and all this shit. And so they have like a banter, but like for her, it's high stakes. And for him, he knows nothing bad's going to happen to her. So it's a weird disparity.
She's spunky.
Yeah. So anyway, at one point, he pulls a gun on Froggy and gets Froggy and his 2 bodyguards who are, like not paid well mercenaries. So they're not going to risk their lives for that guy. They shove him into the water closet.
They lock him in a toilet.
They locked him in the toilet. And then Kivian and he takes Fran, obviously, and he's very candid with her because she's like, well, I need to go, like, he's like, I'm rescuing you, like, we're leaving. And she's like, well, I need to go back to Earth. And he's like, I can't take you to Earth. Like, Earth
I can't do that.
Well, Earth is like, you're not allowed to go there because, again, they're not part of the universe. So
It's also like described as being an insanely long trip.
yeah,
She knows too much.
it's in one of the other systems. Like, it's so far on the other side of the universe, but at the same time, it's like
a long, dangerous trek.
right. And so the only people that go there are like people who are trying to steal humans, basically smugglers, and like people who are already like in deep with the law. And
Space Moby Dick.
where did that come from?
I don't know.
Why are you talking about Moby Dick all of a sudden?
Well, it came up in another podcast. We were talking about Moby Dick. Jacqueline's face is like, I don't know how to react to this.
Anyway,
It had that like piratey feel to it. I don't know.
Yar. I mean, it's a Corsair. That's kind of the thing, right?
Yeah, space pirates.
Space pirate. So they go back to his ship, and then they basically have to make a run for it because they've stolen the crystals, they've stolen the money, they've like his actual like physical credit chips, and they've gone off with all the shit basically. Now they have to they need to get the fuck out of Dodge.
Quick run!
And so he gets his crewmates, who are Centaur is his mechanical, Elvis is his nav, and Tarek is his medic. And it's like he has a 4-room ship basically. Like, it's not built for 5 people. So we're bringing Fran along for the ride anyway.
So where's Fran gonna sleep? In the water closet.
So
On my dick, mate.
Wishful thinking.
well, so Fran, so they take off.
Yep.
They're like, what is it called, surging, whatever. They like hang it like it's hyperspace or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Because she's like, it's hyperspace, and they're like, oh, we call it surging. What is hyperspace? Anyways, they make fun of her.
There's like that making fun. It was almost like that mocking of like modern day space stuff, Star Trek and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very funny. And
It was funny.
Hey Jack, what are you coloring over there?
It says WTF
What is-
for what the fuck
Oh, okay.
is going on with this story.
It's something. So they take off. They end up putting themselves like in an asteroid belt to hide, and they're
Being sneaky.
they're being super sneaky, and they turn all their sensors off, and they're cloaked and shit. So like they're basically hiding out because they are now gonna be chased down by Froggy and his gang.
They're basically waiting for it.
Yes, and so they end up staying there for like a fucking month.
Yeah.
It takes forever. And so in the meantime, Fran is with them. She is getting like used to the ship and the food, and she's trying to help out, and she's like learning.
They take her chip thingy out of her ear though, and they upload her language into all their chips,
So they can still communicate.
so they can still
but
communicate.
she can't really, like, they all communicate together, but she doesn't know any other languages.
She communicate. They
Yeah.
communicate with her in English because it's insanely uncomfortable to have the stupid thing in her ear, which was very thoughtful. I felt.
It's funny because she uses the phrase inhumane, and they're like, what does that mean? Doesn't mean anything to us because humane doesn't mean anything to them because human is the root word. So there's a number of things that she says, like colloquialisms and stuff, that they're like, what does that mean? Like, it's very interesting.
Get in the water closet.
Get in the water closet. No, so she ends up sleeping in Kivian's bed, And
with like a
but
pillow
now-
fort.
So they put up like a pillow border so that each of them has their own side. And he has a very fancy cabin. Like he likes nice things. So he's got like fancy artifacts and like really expensive clothing. And she's allowed to wear his like really expensive clothing, and it's a whole thing.
His
and
shirt.
he has to teach her how to like do up the shirt sleeves or something, because like this very fancy like way of tying them up or something. Anyways,
I'm trying to think. There's like there is like a character in a movie or something like that he reminds me of, but I cannot for the life of me peg it. Like that.
Is it like Atlantis or one of the not Atlantis? The one with the two guys. The fuck is
Road to
it?
El Dorado.
Yeah, that one.
Both.
No. Yes, both.
No, it like I don't know. It'll come to me when we're done recording.
You think I'm sure I'll be in the middle of saying something and you'll like yell it at me, and
Probably, and then it won't make sense.
I
It'll
won't
be
make any
like,
sense, and that's fine. So we'll just put a pin in that one. I'm sure it'll come around.
It's like Jack Sparrow, but not Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, I mean he's a Corsair and he's like a very frou, but he's not an idiot.
I know, but there's like a character, and I can't think of it.
Okay, well you think about that some more.
I'll do something.
And so she gets acclimatized. She learns how to play sticks. She learns how to like. I think the last straw is when the Nav is teaching her how to clean a gun, like a blaster, I should say. And this is when, and she has a conversation with, I think it's the medic at one point, where
it's Stockholm.
she was asking
syndrome.
about Stockholm syndrome, and the medic is just like, that's not a thing we have in space, and it sounds like that's like you're not describing what's going on here, because obviously they are all like, well, you obviously have a thing for
Maybe you just
Kivian.
like him.
Yeah, he's like, maybe you just like him. And then of course later in the day, the medic is like, when Kivian comes down to the bridge, the medic's like, I had a very interesting conversation earlier with somebody. And then he's like, well, do tell about this conversation. And he tells him about how like Fran has a thing for him and all this stuff, and he's like, you should probably act on that, by the way.
Because he's doing all these like sketch bag things too. Like he starts sleeping naked, and then he's like disappointed that she's not looking at him while he's naked.
It's definitely one of those things where, well, but and he's kind of a respect. Anyway, he's kind of respecting the fact that like she has been taken hostage, and she is what like. So he's not making a move on her at all, but he's also made it very obvious that he's into her. He's also claimed her, which is a thing that his race like.
I sleep naked.
Yeah. Well, the first couple nights he doesn't. He wears clothes.
Yeah.
And then like eventually she asks him how his rest is, and he's like, it's actually really bad because I don't generally wear clothes, so it's hard to fall asleep and whatever. And she's like, oh, well, you don't have to wear clothes. That's okay.
Because we all know how that goes down.
Well, anyway, but honestly, like they last for quite a while. Like they go for quite a while.
The slow burn was really weird.
Oh, it was the slowest of burns. Well, there's one. So I only have two spots marked in this entire book, and the first one is where she like just gets out of bed or stretches or something, and he like cannot contain himself and runs off to the water closet to jerk off. Like he just can't physically do it anymore in the water closet. And so that, and she's like leaning against the water closet, like listening to like flesh slap against flesh, and she's like, oh my god, and hearing him moaning, and she's like, Jesus Christ, this is really hot. And so there's like this huge back and forth dynamic where neither of them want to admit that they're into the other one or make a move or any of that stuff, and they're both waiting for the other one to make a move. So when it gets to the point of
idiots to lovers,
it's idiots to lovers. It's exactly what it is. So it gets to the point where she is learning how to clean a gun with the nav officer, and this is where Kivian is finally like, no, I'll teach you how to clean a gun. He's not allowed to teach you how to clean a gun because they're like sitting really close together.
You can shoot your eye out.
And just like, it's not safe. I should be the one to teach you. You don't have to do these things. And it's very adorable because he's like so overprotective of her, but at the same time he's like wicked jealous of anyone else that comes near her. But they all know, like it's almost like that jealousy thing where they're like poking the bear to get him to like do something.
Adorable.
It's something. Anyway.
Red flag. Red
is her favorite color.
Morally gray.
And so right before some shit's about to happen with them, they get all of the alerts on the sensors, and fucking Froggy and Co have showed up. And so they basically go board the Froggy ship.
On the good
Karopi.
ship.
Good ship.
Froggy ship.
Karopi.
It's a good trip.
Froggy ship.
So they go over there with their blasters. They put everyone in cryo, and she's like has to stay behind and doesn't know what's going on. And she's talking to like the ship, like AI or whatever that's there, and she's trying to like get the ship to tell her information, but she doesn't know how to talk to an AI system. So it keeps being like you need to please confirm what this means. Please confirm. She's like,
It
I don't
doesn't
know.
understand certain
Like it doesn't
words.
understand certain words that she's using. Anyway, so then they come back over, and when they come back over, she had in the meantime grabbed like a priceless vase or something from his quarters and was using it as a weapon because she couldn't find anything else. And she like smokes him with this thing in the chest. He's like, Jesus fucking Christ, what are you doing? And she I don't think she breaks it, but anyways.
No, she
But then she's
doesn't.
like crying, like she's so upset, and he's like, "What is wrong? Like, what's going on?" She's like, "I thought everything was terrible. The computer wouldn't tell me what's going on. I thought you might have died, and then I can't look after myself."
It said that there were 4 life forms on the ship, and because the froggy froggy creatures were in cryo, they didn't register. So she didn't know who was alive and who was dead.
Because 4 of them went over to the other ship. So
Yeah.
she's like, "There should be more than 4. What's wrong? Someone's dead."
Yeah.
So she kind of freaked out about it. But then they're all fine. They come back. They have even more creds, and they have even more crystals. And the Froggy and Co. are in cryo for a couple of years, so they're off scot-free. So they turn their stuff in. Everyone gets their money. Everyone thinks hunky-dory. And then we skip over to... It's like, it's not quite the epilogue. I guess it's the epilogue. Where they go to... And obviously, like, you'll read about it, Jack, but then they fuck, of course. They're supposed to go back to the mess to like celebrate with the crew, but they do it instead. And that's when they're
Priorities.
I mean, legit. Again, the slowest of burns. So like, yeah, do it finally. Jesus Christ. So then in the epilogue, they end up going to Rissa 3 to visit his brother, and this is where you meet like Chloe, his brother's wife, meets Fran for the first time, and they like. She brings her a bunch of candy that's very similar to human candy.
Oh,
Like specifically, like here are these, like these are sweet and these are savory and these are sour. And like she went through and tasted them all to like curate this package for her because she was so homesick.
Aw.
It was very nice, actually. It was very cute.
And she's pregnant and she wanted these things. I think it was a conversation in the beginning of the book where
Yeah.
The brother with Jatari was like, "Could you bring my bitch some candy?
She needs candy.
She needs a thing that tastes this way
She needs it to live, or she's going to kill me."
because she's pregnant.
Yeah, because and this is the thing too. Their races can't organically reproduce, so like you literally go do shots and stuff in order to be like medication shit like this in order for them to like be compatible. It's a whole thing.
Oh, they're like, I'm pretty sure that his race can reproduce naturally together, but they often choose not to, and they use like
They rent
surrogate
They
pods.
rent a womb. I think is what they call it. They
Yeah.
rent a womb, and they're like, yeah, and then they come back a couple months later and you have a kid, and it's like, she's like, that seems so fucking cold. Like, but it's like that's what they do because again, they don't like procreate because germs.
They don't like to touch things.
Yeah.
Right.
They just take donations and then they mush them together, and then you have a baby. There it is. Mush, 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 mush.
Just like real life should be.
Turkey basters for everyone.
Listen, your mom paid me good money.
Ugh.
Listen, stop smushing your private parts together. Get a turkey baster.
Oh, Fran.
Oh, Fran, get away from me.
So in the so on that
Yep.
note, Jack, I got some Oh Fran for you to read.
Yeah.
Yes. I move up to kiss her again, and she hooks a foot around my hip, parting her legs for me. I twine my tail around her ankle, holding her in place, and push her other thigh wide so I can settle in between them. She moans, eager with anticipation, her hands fluttering over my chest and arms as if she's not sure where to touch me. I take one of her hands in mine and bear it down to the bed. I use my other hand to fit the head of my cock at the entrance to her core. I can feel how wet she is. It's incredible. She's incredible. Kivian, she breathes, as I slowly push into her and our eyes lock. I'm ruined, I whispered to her. You've ruined me. Nothing else could feel so amazing, so intense, so deeply connected. It's like we're one being, and when I slowly surge into her, I can see and feel everything about her. I'm fascinated by the way her lips part ever so slightly, the way her lashes flutter each time I thrust into her, the way her nipples graze against my chest when I lean in. It takes a few shallow thrusts for me to fully seat myself into her. I want to go slow, make sure her body can take all of me. Her cunt is an intensely tight grip that's utterly stunning to experience. The moment I thrust fully into her, though, she gasps in shock, and her heel digs into my hip, her eyes wide. "What?" I ask, going still. "What is it? Did I somehow hurt her?" The thought makes me sick. "Spur," she breathes. "Spur?" I reach between our bodies, and sure enough, my spur taps against the little node of her clit when I'm pushed deep inside her. It hurts? "God, no," Fran tells me. "It feels incredible." I laugh with sheer joy. "You just aged me 3 years, little one." "So what, that makes you 900? I laugh again, and she moans. "When you do that, I can feel it all the way through my body." "Then I shall plan on making you laugh quite often," I tell her, and I mean it. I move slowly over her again, and when I push into her this time, I'm acutely aware of how my spur taps against her clit, and the little tremor of response that tells me she's enjoying it. Well, that and the bellow in my ear she just made, and the fact that she's grabbed one of my horns again. Confident, I pump into her again and start a slow, steady rhythm, intending to make long, languid love to my human. It doesn't work that way. Every time I thrust into her, she gasps and clenches, and I can feel the little spasms of pleasure deep in her cunt. She tightens around my cock each time, and the wet, gripping heat of her is impossible to tune out. I can't find a rhythm after all. Instead, I make each thrust as good as I can possibly make it for both of us, watching her response each time. I can feel her tensing as I pound into her, and her little whimpers escalate until she's keening in my ear, her nails digging into the plates on my shoulders. "Kiv," she breathes. "Kiv, Kiv." "My sweet Fran," I tell her, pushing a tendril of sweaty hair off her brow. She's so lovely in her pleasure that I can't look away. "All mine." "Yours," she promises, even as I thrust into her again. She makes a little choking sound, arching her hips, and with my next thrust, she comes again, shuddering and wrecked. Now I can come too. I pump into her, harder and faster, desperate to join her in her pleasure. She murmurs filthy promises in my ear, even as her breasts bounce with every thrust, and it's enough to make me lose control. I grunt her name between gritted teeth as I spill deep inside her, pouring my essence into her body and claiming every bit of her. Fran is mine, all mine. I collapse against her, then roll on my side so I don't crush her under my weight, and flip her onto me. We're both sweaty and sticky from our love-making, but I like it. It definitely feels a little deviant, but why shouldn't I revel in such things? Nothing about our relationship would be by the law. No sense in starting now. As I catch my breath, I caress Fran's face. "How are you, my sweet?" She gives me a dreamy smile. Better than good. She wiggles on top of me, wrinkling her nose. "Your spurs still pushing me in all the right places." "Making you think of round 2, then? Give a pirate a moment, won't you?" Fran chuckles and lies down atop my chest, her arms around me and her cheek against my heart. "You can have a moment then, but just one. You are the very soul of generosity, my love."
Thanks for that, Jack. That was pretty chill. That was like the tail end of their escapades. I left out some of the foreplay, so rest assured there was some.
Okay. In my brain, Fran is like 90. And so
I mean, fair.
Kivian's like not young. Like he's,
Yeah, but I feel like he doesn't age quite the same as
You're
humans.
right, yeah. Because I think Fran's only like 22 or 23. Like she's fairly young.
22-ish, and she's a receptionist.
Yeah, she was like kind of in a dead-end job. So again, she ends up becoming a pirate at the end of this, as opposed to like Chloe, who wanted to go off and be a farm or whatever. She was like, no, I want to be a fucking pirate. Because he's like, hey, I'll leave this pirate life. We'll go do whatever. She's like, nope, pirates. He's like, but it's not safe. And she's like, well, you'll protect me.
At one point, he's even like, well, I guess I could take you back to Earth. And she's like, what? Nope. But I want to stay.
Because he does, before they get together, he does offer to do that. Because he found out there's other humans who were being trafficked from Earth again.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we could rescue them and take them back and you whatever. But
Froggy was gonna get them.
he
He was just gonna replace her.
well, I mean, there was that, but they found out about other shipments and stuff like this too that he knew about. But yeah, that was it. So that's, I mean, it's a very short book. It's a novella.
The end.
Well, and you know what? I do kind of like enjoy Ruby Dixon books only because they are historically kind of short. And
I
straight to
mean,
the point.
the
But
ones
there's a
that
lot
you've
of them.
read.
That's true. Like I've read a couple of her books specifically for this because we wanted to decide on which ones to read.
The ones that I have read, however, we were like, we no longer can do books over 400 pages.
Yeah, I have a policy now because I read them twice. So
600 pages.
I didn't read it, whatever it was, but I was going to read it. But
Anchor
then
and
I settled on
Aspect.
this.
It was the Anchor and Aspect.
Oh, that's
series.
it. And I also read. She has a dragon series.
We both read that one.
Yep, and there was another book I read too that she had that I opted not to do as well.
Yeah, because when we discussed it, we said like we wanted to talk about Ruby Dixon, but we didn't want to do like one of the obvious like.
Yeah, because Ice Planet Barbarians, like they are very short books, and the thing with her is that she does some universe building and then tells you a story, but she does that like 10 times. So Ice Planet Barbarians is like it's one place and there's tons of pairings that happen based off that first book.
10 times I was like, in one book?
No, like she is
excessively.
Her series are like very involved. So like there's a number of books per each series. This was the first one, the Corsair's Captive, and I don't think there's any more in the series just yet. But there's going to be, because again, she's building out a universe and stuff, and so
there's going to be one for each of the.
That's my understanding. Yeah,
I think.
And so Prison Planet as well has like a bunch of books in it, and obviously Ice Planet has a bunch of books. Like she is known for writing series.
Yeah, see, and the one series that I read, there aren't 15 million books in it. There are like 4 or 5. But they are much larger, and I don't know. Maybe they're not. But I feel like they're much more involved based on like.
I definitely get the vibe that she writes 2 distinct type of books.
Maybe
she writes like the kind of novella style books where
quick and dirty,
get in, get out, the old in, out, and then she writes like her long epics, and you could almost like. If you wanted to put a bunch of Ice Planet Barbarian books together, you could write a long epic, but she broke it out into, do you know what I mean? Like she does a lot of world building, but it expands so far across books.
But even still, you're having a different characters versus like the Anchor and Aspect ones, which is like the same 2 characters from start to finish. Like, do you know what I mean? And it was, I will be honest, like this, whatever. Ice Planet, no interest. The Anchor and Aspect one, I was super interested in the way that, I know this isn't the one we're talking about, but like if we're talking about Ruby Dixon as an author in general, I was super interested in the way that she wrote the series because it wasn't something I had seen before. Like, you know, there's certain things you hear and you experience and like, oh yeah, that's
there's tropes for a reason.
Yeah, but it was very much a like. And it was like gods, and the gods split off into 4 aspects of their personality, and those 4 aspects had to then try and kill the other aspects, but they couldn't kill the aspects. They had to kill the anchor that attached the aspect to Earth. But it was like hedonism and lies, and it's just oh my god, like hedonism just makes everybody horny, and it was funny. And then there's apathy. Anyway, it was.
We don't care about that one.
No. Well, no, but it was too long.
No, but like, so I guess I would pose the question. So does her writing style adjust for the longer style novellas or the longer style books versus the novellas?
This one to me was lacking.
Yeah.
In a very serious way. And so I have to wonder if she does better, maybe, because I haven't read Ice Planet Barbarians, but even the dragon one that we read wasn't like super long.
Because what I'll say about this too is that it's created by Vellum, so she self-published that, which means she also probably didn't have a proper editor on it. And her longer format one, she probably does.
I have no idea.
So I'm curious to see, because again, like she has like 2 calibers of writing almost, and like this is not a newer. This is more of a newer book.
Yeah.
So it's not like compared to Ice Planet, they've been around for years now.
Yeah, and the Anchor and Aspect one, she's still writing. There was 3 the last time I had checked. I think there might be 5 now. one of which is, I think, a novella. Can't remember.
I always wonder too if like when she wrote Ice Planet, for example, was that like she was writing it because it was fun and she carried on with it and whatever,
Yeah.
and now she's writing like not stuff that she wants to write, but more passion projects because she can.
Yeah, like
Because she's definitely made her money on Ice
actors
Planet.
should go out and do the
Yeah.
big heavy so that they like.
Like Robert Pattinson did Twilight not because he liked Twilight, because he wanted to make the money to do whatever he wanted.
Yeah, Chris Evans is the same thing.
I'm always curious
Daniel
about that with
Radcliffe.
authors.
I don't know. Because you see that with Katie Roberts stuff too. Like there's certain books that she has self-published,
So passionate about her writing.
and then there's certain books that she has published through publishing houses. And I don't want to say there's a difference in quality in terms of, but I mean there is definitely a difference in feel in some of those books. Katie Roberts is pretty solid no matter whether she's published on her own or not. But I feel like you can often tell when a book of hers has been self-published.
Absolutely. Well, like, and God love her, but I'm on her Patreon, and not so much anymore. No, I just had it for a year. But when I was on her Patreon, I got some of her like side projects she did, and like her little novellas and stuff like that were like absolutely not fleshed out as much as her normal books are.
Yeah.
And just like littered with errors and spelling mistakes and just everything. And so the quality there like was obvious in like the technical aspect of it, not so much this, like the stories were also great and the writing's good, but like damn, like punctuation, like everything was
You're
just
getting
a
brain
mess.
vomit.
Yeah, for sure. And it always like I pause so hard when I'm reading those kind of things because I do editing or I do like copy editing at work, so it's like I'm almost reading it analytically in that regard. And so when I come across those things, I'm like, God, it's just so frustrating.
Well, it becomes a difference too. Of like, I guess you compared to me because like some of these books I listen to, so like the grammatical error isn't as intense or obvious.
Well, it's removed from it.
Yeah, unless there's like repetitive word usage, which drives me.
Oh my God,
mad.
that's probably more obvious when you like listen to it.
Yeah. Oh my God, so much so. It's like, could you say the word Coachella? Why? I don't know why I said Coachella, but like
it's a good word.
Right? Like kumquat. Okay, cool. That's random. Why was it said 6 times in the last like 10 minutes?
Harry Potter, so bad for that.
Oh, super repetitive.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I guess we should rate this. Let's rate on crystals, I guess. Let's be reasonable and rate on crystals.
You want to rate it on Spurs?
He only has one spur. Okay, let's rate it on crystals. We're gonna rate it on 7 crystals.
That's a arbitrary number. Why 7?
Because I like that number.
Okay, cool.
Jack, do you have any opinions on this? Look at him. There's the cover. Look at him. He's fairly handsome. Photoshopped all get out.
Right.
Not a big fan of this one.
What was your least favorite part of reading that?
Not a big fan of the word cunt
Really?
in a sexual way. Like, obviously, I love the word cunt. Like,
Like calling someone a cunt.
everybody's a cunt.
So
but,
what's
like,
your
Everybody's a cunt.
quit being a cunt? Right, cunty. What is your preferred nomenclature for a woman's
I can't decide.
down under?
I really
Down
can't.
under.
Okay, well, I want you to think about
I
that.
think it depends on the rest of the,
Well, like if it's British or something,
Like-
like Fanny.
or just like the rest of like the I need
Context?
the context.
Mhm,
I think. But yeah, what's it? 7
7 crystals.
7 crystals.
crystals.
They're all contraband, so they're all bad already.
All
Broken.
the crystals are.
Yeah, they're super contraband.
Oh.
Super contraband crystals.
Well, I'm gonna give it like a 1 crystal.
1 contraband crystal.
Yeah,
That's legit.
Contraband crystal.
Contraband.
and it has a low clarity.
That's fair.
Yeah.
They probably have a low clarity anyway, but that's fine. I mean, it's not a fabulous book. It's short as all get out.
I did appreciate that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
super short.
1 crystal for being short.
Out of 7, I'm gonna give it a 4, just because it's over 50%. It's like,
Ruby, you're lucky, girl.
I mean, here's the thing too, because like I like reading Ruby Dixon books, because like the disassociation factor for me is fairly high.
And they're easy to read.
They're so easy.
Like-
They're very
I can
quick.
See that.
That,
yeah.
Like,
I love like it's alien fucking is monster fucking. So like they're close cousins.
after I've made Rachel read something emotional, she needs to slip into a little mindlessness.
Yeah, it's actually funny because after reading this a second time through too, I'm like, man, I should go finish Ice Planet Barbarians just for funsies.
Just for fun.
Well, like why not? And like even the rest of like when they end up with more of these series and the Prison Planet Barbarians, like why the fuck not? Because it's just like They're quick reads. They're just like trash.
They're just
Like it's just whatever, and they're like kind of nice. Like this was like kind of a nice book, but like
so nice.
no, like they were like he rescued her, and anyways, it was just
Wait,
like
2 crystals because that whole candy thing. That was really sweet.
it was literally da Fran. So yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 7.
All of the books are out for this currently. I was like,
Are they actually?
yeah, this
Shit.
book was published in 2017. There's the Corsair's Bed, Enticed by the Corsair, Deceiving the Corsair.
Again, it's like a vellum book, so there's no like. Usually, there's stuff in the beginning of it.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Nice. Well,
So they are out if you want to read
Excellent.
them.
I'm gonna read the shit out of those.
There you go. I imagine they're all
I
probably
need to
too.
read one more book this week, so I'll do that.
I just have to say, and I thought about this last time when we were talking about I can't even remember what. The number of times that a character uses the words pretty pussy. I'm ready to stab myself.
Did he say pretty pussy?
No,
in this?
he didn't. But when she was talking about like cunt and then
Oh,
what you
yeah,
call it,
okay.
it put my brain into like
Pretty pussy mode.
there was
Transform into pretty pussy mode.
No, there's a book we had talked about before, and when Jacqueline read it, it's like pretty pussy, but it's used so frequently, and I just had to say that.
So you don't think pussies are pretty?
I don't think any genitalia is pretty. No, I mean cats. Like
I would display a bad dragon. Know what I'm saying? That's a piece of art.
yeah, but that's not legit genitalia though.
It is if you believe in monsters.
So
what is
Staying out
your-
of this one.
what?
I said I'm staying out of this one.
What? So what do you rate? 7 crystals.
Like 2?
Fair.
Like
Tough but fair.
when I was reading this, and it is not a big book. I'm
no.
looking at it right now.
100
I don't even remember them going to Rizda 3. I had like
it's the epilogue.
That's the jail planet.
No, it's not.
no, it's the farming
farm
planet they
planet.
go to.
Damn it.
Nice
Yeah,
try.
Good times. Yeah. No, but I don't even remember that. I literally had like 5 pages left in the book and was like,
You just
oh,
blacked out.
right. I have to finish that. And then we'll go and do something else. And then we'll be like, oh, right. Because that's how uninvested I was. But I knew I had to do it because it was necessary.
Because I asked you to. You're such a good girl.
Sometimes. So yeah, like there was some interesting stuff. Like I dug the whole like hygiene thing. Like I found that interesting.
The language stuff was kind of fun for me.
Yeah. There was some things like, but I wanted like the stuff I found interesting. I want it more fleshed out, and I didn't get it. And it's sad to say like, oh, it's a short book, so it's like if it had been longer and there had been more to it, maybe I would have liked it more.
Yeah, it does.
Just
it does
like the
feel,
littles.
No.
We needed that to be longer.
No, on so many levels, no.
Jack, no, we're not going back. We're not doing it. Don't do it.
Don't pull us down.
But yeah, I mean, I could see how like this would be almost a prologue for a book, where like this is like the how they met and then they go off on their adventure together sort of thing. Like I could definitely see it being like like part 1 of a 3-part book, like that kind of thing.
Also, like keep in mind that like I don't read a lot of novellas. My books tend not that they're super long, but like an average book for actually I just did the year in books. My average book is like 370 to 400 pages or something like that.
A 300 plus page book is a normal size book.
A normal size book. I don't read a lot of novellas.
I love reading novellas only because if I just like gobble them up.
Yeah,
Like they're just an evening you just read novella.
but you're
Like Timbits, where you could have like a million Timbits and it doesn't feel like you ate any Timbits.
But if you eat like 6 donuts, you feel like fatty pasta.
Exactly.
Definitely like that.
but see
Novellas are like Timbits.
No, I agree.
it also boils down to the like the why of it, right? Like why are you getting into it? Why do you want to read it? And those kinds of things. Like
Your emotional investments are longer than 150 pages, and my horrendous smut is 150 max.
except for the one that you were like, you totally should read this, and it had the detachable penis, and I was like, and you're like, we should totally read this, and I was like, no, and you're like, it's really, really short, and you're like, oh no, wait, it's over 300 pages long, and I'm like, that's not short right now. That's not that. Well, it felt really short. I'm like, yes, you were invested in that in a very serious way, and I understand that, and I appreciate that in your existence. But no.
We stand a detachable penis.
I feel like she should read it then because she was just complaining that novellas are too short for her to get the delight out of it. So she needs to read this 300-page detachable penis book so she gets the right amount out of it, and she will like
You're
it.
reminding me of my son trying to justify getting me to do something that he wants me to do.
They both have ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And yeah.
We're very
see,
similar.
here's the thing,
I
Jack,
like him.
is that if I come up with some heinous shit for Ashton to read and it's short, I get away with it. If I come up with some heinous shit and it's long for her to read, I'm never gonna hear the end of it. I can't.
It will be a rant.
I can't put you guys through that. That's
right,
rude.
Right,
It will
right.
be a rant.
It'll be like
she's
the
an angry elf.
whole fucking eggnog cum thing all over again.
Exactly. That's exactly what
I mean, content is there, but it's also, she'll get more kickback from me about it too. Like, there was that time we had the conversation where I was like, we got to be careful how many monster books we read because we don't want to be pigeonholed as a monster fucking podcast. And Rachel's like, well, and I was like, Rachel,
challenge accepted.
And that's why we just throw a little here and there.
No, thank
A
you.
little.
See, you have to convince
In
two of us
there.
for that, and that's not gonna happen.
Little.
So here's the thing. If you want to read a book like that, you have to read the book.
I did.
And you have to do the work.
Rachel does the work.
Rachel,
She won't let other people do the work. I've tried.
That's fair.
Tough but fair. Okay, so do you have another book you want to talk about, Ash?
I read the Fate. Did you read anything?
God, no.
No? Okay.
I did read some other Ruby Dixon books. I'm not gonna anyway. I won't go into them.
Nothing
But
worth
I mean, the
writing home
dragon one
about?
was great. It was like In Her Blood, I think it was called, or something.
I wasn't a big fan.
Because we both read that one and we decided we
Yeah.
didn't care for it.
There was a mutual understanding of no.
Yeah, it was. Oh, and it was also on the tails of another tail. It was on the tail of another dragon book. But it was it was a very Ruby Dixon book. Like, I felt like I got a Ruby Dixon vibe off of it, obviously, and it's again monster fucking. But it was just not. I don't think it was right. It wasn't.
I didn't.
It didn't sit well with me for some reason. And it was very fated mates, but again,
DubCon.
it was the DubCon was real, and
But
it
not
just,
even a good DubCon. I think that was my problem. Was it wasn't a well done DubCon. Not that anyway.
No, I know I'm picking up what you're putting down, but yeah, I didn't vibe wasn't there, so we just didn't do that book. But
Yeah.
I did read it. It was all right. I just don't read it.
Don't read it.
Well, I don't know. Hard to say. Jury's out on that one. If I would recommend that to a very specific person. I don't want to recommend it to
definitely
everybody.
niche. Yeah.
Yeah, it was super niche.
Super niche.
I don't recommend it to everyone because there's a lot of trigger shit in it. But I like it as a concept. Like the
Yeah.
book, the post-apocalypse, dragons have taken over.
Yes.
The concept of it, the world building of it, and all that stuff was rad. The actual story with the characters in it, I was super not okay with, I think.
It reminded me a bit of oh my god, the monster one that I was reading, and I was excited because every time there was a different penis.
Yeah.
Lily Main, I feel like, was the author.
Don't remember. We talked about it before in the podcast.
Yeah, and it was very much like a post-apocalyptic monsters come through, blah blah blah, all that stuff. It gave that kind of vibe just with the cities and stuff like that.
Like
but,
everything's in ruin and
yeah, but I hands down recommend the Lily Main books before I'd recommend that one.
yeah.
But
So Ruby Dixon, hit or miss?
yeah, the one that I read, it was The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson, and this is the one that I was telling you about before. Where she might be a Raylo kind of thing. That whole
Yeah.
thing went down. Anyway,
Did we read something else by Lana Ferguson?
we read The Nanny.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
It's Wolf Shifters, Omegaverse, and I just have to say this is the first time I've read Omegaverse the way I'm used to reading it in Raylo fan fiction, in that it just hit different, and I loved it. It was Wolf Shifters, like I just said. Apparently, I have to repeat myself several times. They were doctors. Mackenzie Carter, was a new doctor at the hospital, and her grandmother's constantly trying to set her up on dates that suck. And then Noah Taylor, he's a cardiologist of sorts, and he's an alpha, and she's an omega. And somebody outs him to the board because alphas are big and blah, 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 all that stuff. So he needs a fake mate, because if he has a mate, then theoretically that'll kind of calm the alpha down. And it's fake mate.
So we know how that ends.
Yeah, and then she doesn't tell him that she's an omega until her grandmother tells him, and then he's like,
oh shit.
Yeah, and then it's a whole this is gonna get complicated, and he scents her and rubs up against her, and I just I live for that shit. I'm yep, Give me that. It wasn't like insanely amazing or anything like that, but it was a fun read. And like I said, it was really nice to see Omegaverse the way I'm used to experiencing Omegaverse through the fanfic world, written in like, I don't want to say like not modern, but like mainstream. Yeah, written mainstream versus like a lot of Omegaverse stuff you read is like Fairy Daddy and stuff like that. Penguins. But you know, it was just fake mate, and he had a knot, and it expanded when
there's something to be said about going into a book and you know exactly how it's going to go down.
Yeah, it wasn't complicated. It wasn't a hard read. It was one of those books that I was reading and I was listening to another book because that's what I often do. I listen to one and I read another. And I got to a point where I was like, I should really listen because I only have 3 hours left in this other book. But then I was like, but I'm halfway through this one, and it's like getting to that part where like, oh no, she's gone into heat randomly. Whatever will we do? And he scoops her off to his cousin's cabin in the middle of the woods where they can shift and have sex, and she's all like horned up and fuck me now, and yep, it was delightful.
Hot as fuck.
Yep. So that was the Fake Make by Lana Ferguson.
Well, thanks for that, Ash.
Do what I can.
Jack, do you have anything you'd like to chat about?
Do you have any comments, Jack?
You have questions. Your eyeballs are saying something right now.
I'm good. I can't even begin
Well, thanks
with the question.
Thanks for your honesty, Jack. I appreciate that.
That's a whole episode in and of itself.
So next time we are back, it is going to be our St. Patrick's Day episode.
Devil of Dublin.
And we are talking about Devil of Dublin by B.B. Easton. So you'll recognize B.B. Easton from the Netflix adaptation of her book 44 Chapters About Four Men, which was kind of big in the last number of years. So that's Devil of Dublin. I suggest you take a look at that. It's on Kindle Unlimited if you want to take a read. And we'll see you guys next time on the Queens of Spice podcast. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thank you for having us, Rachel, at my house.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Queens of Spice podcast. You'll find us on Instagram and Twitter at Queens of Spice. Or if you want to send us an email, you can reach us at queensofspice@gmail.com.